from a corrupted imagination. So gods that are manufactured by men, think about this. Gods that are manufactured by men are rarely delivering gods, but rather they are oppressive gods that continually need to be appeased and continually need to do something to stay on their good side. We saw this in Tanzania all the time. People would make sacrifices. Oh man, I had a bad crop this year, so I've done something to offend the gods or God, and so they would go make a sacrifice or do something or wear something to protect themselves from the evil gods, and they would try to appease them so that they would have a good crop the next year. And so we have people that we're debating God's existence. The elimination of God. Some people, they just want to get rid of God. They'll talk about him philosophically, pragmatically, that they'll say that there's no such thing as a God. Have you ever heard the phrase, God is dead? We have some movies that have come out saying God, basically says God is dead, and then they put a little, whatever that's called, that little triangle looking thing, that says God is not dead. And so, we have people that want to eliminate God. They don't want him to be in existence. In Genesis chapter 3, God had created everything. Created man, created woman, put them in the garden, said care for the garden. You've got the run of the place, just don't eat from that tree right over there. Don't. No touchy-touchy. Don't mess with it. And what happened? What happened when somebody tells you don't do something? That's the first thing you want to do. So, here we go. The serpent comes, Satan, the serpent basically deceives Eve, questions God, questions everything. She takes the fruit, she eats it, she hands it to Adam. That's it. Sin, disobedience, ushered into the world. But so what happens? They got to walk with God every single day in the evening, to talk with him, to communicate with him. God comes at his usual time. Hey Adam, where are you? Now come on. Really, God? God knew where they were. But Adam, where are you? Eve, where are you? Silence. Did y'all do that when y'all got in trouble? You did something you went and hid from your mom and dad? And they, where are you? So God knew where Adam and Eve were, but he said, Adam, where are you? Eve, where are you? And they said, we're hiding. Because we don't want to face you. Because we know that we disobeyed. And so they didn't want to be accountable for their actions. And that's what a lot of people do now. They say, well, they don't want to be accountable, so they say, there is no God. And in Romans chapter 1, Paul was writing to the church in Rome, and he was telling them about nature. And he said, there is, where nature attests to the existence of God. He wrote in verse 19, he said that since what can be known about God is evident among them because God has shown it to them for his invisible attributes, that is his eternal power and divine nature, having clearly seen since the creation of the world, being understood through what is made. As a result, people are without excuse. They want to make excuses, but they're without it. Paul is saying here, all of this, all of nature testifies to God. And he says, for though they knew God, they did not glorify him as God or show gratitude. Instead, their thinking became nonsense, their senseless minds were darkened. And because they did not think it worthwhile to acknowledge God, God delivered them over to a worthless mind to do what is morally wrong. They did not want, they say, because of their situation, they say, God doesn't exist, so they think they can get out of it. We had something happen like that a few years ago. Somebody said, okay, I want to follow this type of lifestyle. I want to do these things. So therefore, I'm saying I don't believe in God anymore. And so they were thinking by saying I don't believe in God, that was okay then for them to pursue this other type of lifestyle that they wanted to pursue. Now they made a profession of faith. They said they were a Christian, but they came to the point, I don't believe in God anymore because I want to do this. So they think that by shoving God out or saying in their mind he doesn't exist, I can justify what I'm doing now. And I don't have to worry about it. But you know what? God is always there. You can't get away from it. And people want to distort God. How many gods are in the world today? Little gods. Gee. Y'all seen any? Seen any running around? Oh yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot. And people set up these things as gods. And they appease them or worship them or follow them or devote themselves to these gods. Now some of them are just, and we've seen it, well, there's a God that lives in that tree. There's a God that lives in that rock. There's a God that lives in that river. We've seen that. People told us that. But then there are other people that worship these gods, and they have forms, they make statues of them, and they make them look like something. Now, some of these, as people have looked at, we have demons that will set themselves up as gods. And people will, it's basically false worship. And they'll set themselves up as this. But they really are not gods. Even though the demons do exist, they're not gods. And basically what's happened is man has not wished God into existence. Man wants to wish God out of existence. So he doesn't have to be accountable to anything. So he can do what he wants. There's a lot of people, the evidence is clear of God's existence. Paul talked about nature. You've seen it. We've seen it in different people's lives, what God has done and is doing. His evidence is there. Basically, there's more reason to believe God exists than he doesn't exist. Now, some people say, Christians expect one big miracle, God. And then everything else just, okay, God does this and does this. But there are other people that they say God doesn't exist, but they expect a miracle in every one of these little things. So what's easier to believe? God, and he takes care of all this? Or, oh, I look for a little miracle in every one of these little things, if you don't believe God exists. That's a tough decision to make. But God, when we look and say, okay, God, you're here, and you take care of all these things, all right, that's a miracle in itself. But some people say, if you say there's no God, but you look for and expect miracles and all these little things, that takes a whole lot more faith to believe all those things than to just put your faith in God and let him take care of it. So God, we can see the evidence of what he's doing. There's a lot of arguments that for God's existence. A lot of things. There's nice names for these things. Teleological, basically. That's talking about an intelligent design. That someone had to create these things. Now, how many of y'all carry a cell phone? Probably most of y'all carry a cell phone. Now, what if you took that cell phone apart to its base components and you put it in a box and you shook that box up and you would open it? What would you get?
A new cell phone.
A mess. A new cell phone. Yeah, there you go. A new cell phone. Some people would think you put it in a box, shake it all up, it's going to come all back together, just all by itself. It's not. So basically, there is a teleological argument. There is intelligent design. There has to be a designer to create all these things. It just didn't happen. And also, you have an ontological argument, to be. Basically, the mind of man can conceive an absolutely perfect being. And some people say, well, okay, you can conceive of that, so there must be an absolute perfect being who can give you that ability to conceive of that being. Basically, man can conceive of God in the terms that are truly God's character. That would be an indication that God does exist, if you can think of that. Aesthetically, you have truth and beauty. Well, who sets the standard for that? There has to be a standard, and so God is the one that sets the standard. Free choices. Have y'all exercised your free will choices today? How many of y'all got out of bed? How many of y'all didn't want to get out of bed? But you got out of bed, right? You had that choice, and you made the choice, and you got out of bed, and you came here. So, somewhere with free choices, there's an infinite will somewhere, and the world exists and is as an expression of that will. And then morality. You have to have a standard of right and wrong. If you don't, and we're seeing that now in places, there is no standard of right and wrong, so anything goes, but there has to be a standard, and so we're saying that basically, from out of that standard, what else? We know what is right and wrong, there has to be a standard, and God is that standard. And also you have the cause and effect, cosmological, where you have a cause and an effect. Now, some people say that nothing times nothing equals everything. All I know is when I took math in school, when you had 0 times 0, what would that equal? At least that's what I was taught. And then if you had 0 times any number, what was the answer? I love those tests. When they do those, I could do that 0 table. I got this. Then it got to the 1s, and then we started to get challenged. All right, and then the 2s and the 3s and the 4s. Didn't y'all have to do the 13s? Or did y'all just do the 12s? Usually to the 12s. I had some teachers that pushed us to 13, 14, and 15. That one.
Bonus.
Yeah, those are bonus. But anyway, some people say nobody times nothing equals everything. Or somebody says somebody times something out of nothing equals everything. A cause and an effect. You have a cause of limitless space, must be infinite. A cause of endless time, something must be eternal. The cause of perpetual motion, the effect must be powerful. The cause of complexity must be omniscient, knowing everything. The cause of consciousness must be personal. The cause of feeling must be volitional or of a free choice. The cause of ethical values, something has to be moral to give you those ethical values. The cause of religious values has to be spiritual. Beauty, there has to be a cause of aesthetic. Cause of righteousness must be holy. The cause of justice must be just. The cause of love must be loving. And the cause of life must be living. So basically, when you come down to it, you look at the world, you look at the inhabitants, there must be a God who is responsible as the cause of all these qualities, which are merely a reflection of his character. And the Bible substantiates this whole thing. There was an atheist one time. Now, an atheist is someone who claims there is no God. I don't believe in God. He was despairing. He was in a tough situation. He had a friend of his that was there with him. And the atheist called out to God, "God, please help me." And the friend goes, "Hold on a minute. You said you're an atheist. You don't believe in God. Yet you're calling out to God to help you. Why are you doing that? What are you doing?" Well, the atheist replied, "Well, if there isn't a God, there ought to be one for times like this." Okay. So, God is. And there are people who don't want to believe in God. But I think when you look at the reasons why, they either don't want to be responsible, or they don't want to deal with the consequences of being irresponsible. So they say, I can just dismiss that. I can just let that go. I can say I don't believe in God, so I can do what I want to do. Now, Christians, Paul would talk about this a lot. And he would talk about hope. He said there's always hope. Then you've been to funerals, usually 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. You read that, talking about hope. If there's nothing else that will cause you to believe in God, we can find hope in Him and through His Son, Jesus Christ. Because Paul, when he wrote the letter to the church at Thessalonica, he said this. He said, "We do not want you to be uninformed, brothers, concerning those who are asleep, who have passed away, so that you will not grieve like the rest of the people," and this is the key phrase that he writes next, "who have no hope." Have you ever been to a funeral that the person was not a Christian? I've had to officiate funerals like that. Well, I didn't have to, but I was asked to. In the places that I've lived, my name was on a list, and if someone didn't have a pastor, the funeral home, they would call me. I'm the same way, Avengers, they got my name. And some of the saddest funerals I went to were ones that the funeral director would give me all the information I needed, and the people were not a Christian. And so what do? And I learned a long time ago, you talk to the people who were there. You can't do anything for the person who's passed away, but you talk to the people who are attending the funeral to give them hope. Hope. If we have nothing else to offer the world to show that God exists, we can tell them about the hope we have in Jesus Christ. People want hope. They want hope. They need hope. Some of y'all been adulting. That's the fun word I hear now. Some of y'all been adulting for a long time, haven't you? Any of y'all tired of adulting? You ready just to, can I set this aside now? Can I be a kid again? How many of y'all talked about that before? Can I be a kid again? Adulting is tough, isn't it? That's a hard road. But how much more so the road is a little bit better with hope. You hope. And it's not just, oh, I hope. What did we talk about? Hope is confident expectation. We know that God's taking care of us. How many of y'all have read your license plate on your car lately? Now, some of y'all have different plates. Some of y'all have those neat, what are they called? Fashion plates or whatever, where that you can put on there. But for the most of the plates, I know mine, I have just this generic South Carolina plate, but it has the state motto on it. It says, "While I breathe, I hope." While I breathe, I hope. And so, in other words, they're saying is, as long as you have breath, there's hope. And that's where we're at in Jesus Christ. When we have placed our faith and trust in Him, as long as we're breathing, there's hope. But even when we stop breathing, guess what? We see the fulfillment of that hope when we see Jesus Christ face to face. There is hope. A person who doesn't believe in God, David wrote about them, the psalmist. He calls them a fool. He says, the fool has said in their heart, there is no God. He says, man, how in the world can they live? They want to dismiss God, and yet He's all around. The evidence is all there, and they just want to dismiss it. And they don't want to believe Him. And David said, don't do that. He said, only a fool has said in their heart, there is no God. The best way you know God is through experience. We heard that today. Through prayer, we see God working in Serena's life. I would dare say all of you have had some answered prayer, haven't you? And you could probably name the different, all the different varieties of answers. From, dear Lord, I'd sure like that closer parking spot at the mall. Any of y'all prayed that before? Don't raise your hands, don't do that. To, Lord, we're in a situation, we have no idea what's going on. But would you please take care of it? And He did. Now, we have to be careful in that when we give those situations to God, He takes care of them in His way. And He gives us the answer that's best. It might not be the answer we wanted or had conceived of, but He gives us answers to prayer. And that's where our hope is. Our hope is He hears our prayer, and He does answer our prayer. And our trust is that He knows what is best. So, God does exist. We've seen it over and over and over in our lives. Some people laugh at me when I pray for people for a trip. I said, Lord, give us a boring and uneventful trip. And y'all prayed that before? You're getting ready to go to Guam, aren't you? You better pray for that. All the way to Guam to see granddaughter, right? Boring and uneventful. That's what I pray all the time. Now, did all of them turn out boring and uneventful? No. But we saw God work in different situations, in different ways. I'll give you one real quick, then you go home. Yay! As everybody says. We were traveling, going to Nairobi, Kenya. I knew we were going to have a problem when I had to push start my vehicle in the third leg of our journey to get to Nairobi. Now, we had a standard diesel engine, so all I do is put it in second. There was a hill, just pop the clutch, get the engine going. I said, okay, we just won't turn it off until we get to our destination. So we drive to the border. You have to do all those things there, passports. We left the car running there. Okay, that's good. And then we go on. We're into Kenya driving. and we come across some road construction, so we have to stop and wait and this and that. So, when you see somebody coming from one way, and you're over here, and you want to let them go, what do? What do you normally do to let them know that they can come ahead? You flash your lights, don't you? You hit your lights, and so when I hit my lights, boom, the vehicle just choo. I said, okay. All right, this ain't happening. And so these guys came along, the road crew, and I said, I don't know, what the problem is. They said, we'll fix this. This guy drove up with a dump truck. And the dump truck, the batteries are pretty big on a dump truck. He literally, I couldn't believe it. I said, we're in Africa. He hooked up cables, these big cables, almost as big as 2-inch cables. He hooked them up to his battery, literally took one cable in each of his hands and popped that on my battery. All right, try it now. I said, it doesn't blow up. Oh, man. So they said, well, we'll pull you, and pop the clutch and do this for a half mile. It still wouldn't start. I said, all right. And that is before cell phones. So a guy, the manager of the road crew, he came up, his pickup, he said, well, there's a phone in an office 10, 12 kilometers down the road. Is there a number that I can call? I said, yes. Gave him the number. He says, okay, I'm going to go call him. So we're sitting in the car. Now, when we travel, we have all kinds of stuff, water and food and things of this nature. And so, but my kid, but the manager of the road crew would come by every so often. Are you okay? Do you have water? Do you have this? Do you have that? We called the people. They got the message. They said they were coming. Okay. Every 30 minutes, this guy was checking us. And so invariably, they came, they brought a new battery, put it in, started, drove to Nairobi, drove to the guest house, parked, turned it off, and guess what wouldn't happen again? It wouldn't start again. Found out there was a 75 amp fuse that had burned out in our vehicle. That's a big fuse. Anyway, invariably though, my kids, they were smaller then, invariably they said, well, we prayed for a good trip. We prayed, why didn't God take care of us? We prayed. One of our kids would pray, God, please bubble wrap our car with angels. Okay, I'll work with that. And they said, well, what happened? Where were they? I said, they were right here. They said, what do you mean? We were on the side of the road, this and this and this. I said, no. That angel came by every 30 minutes in that pickup truck checking on us. He made a phone call for us, and we were able to get here. I said it wasn't what we had thought about or anticipated, but that's how God took care of us. And so, God does exist. He does take care of us. People choose not to believe. Okay, they can choose not to believe. But I can tell you from that and lots of other experiences, He does exist, and He cares for you as an individual. Let's bow our heads, please. We have hope in the Lord Jesus Christ. The hope is that He came, He lived here, He died on the cross, He was buried in a tomb, He was resurrected. And the hope is that we have salvation through Him, but also that one day we will die, but we will be resurrected. And we, as John wrote, that our bodies will be like Him. We shall know Him, for we shall see Him as He is, and we shall be like Him. Do you have that hope in your life today? Yes, there's a lot of things that you can debate that, but if you know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you have something that a lot of people who don't know Him have, and that is hope. Hope. Rest on that hope today. And if you don't have that hope, there are people in here that will show you how you can have that hope through Jesus Christ. Father, I thank You so much that You give us that hope. We don't have to debate whether or not You exist. We can see it. There's all kinds of evidence. I know there are programs on TV, popular especially like CSI, crime scene investigation, where they put all the evidence together to solve crimes. But all the evidence is there. All you have to do is look for it, that you are who you are and that you are. And I thank you when Moses had to tell the people, God, what will I tell them when I go? Tell them they're coming out of Egypt. You said, tell them I am who I am. Sent you, and they'll know. Thank you for that hope. And I pray for those who don't have the hope, that one day, even today, that they'll have that hope in you. In your name I pray. Amen. Let's stand, please, with our heads bowed and our eyes closed. Karen's going to play. Just one verse, just heads bowed and eyes closed. I'm going to be standing right here if you'd like to come and talk or you can pray, whatever you'd like to do. God will make a way. That's where our hope is. That's what she was playing. God is making a way in all of your situations. Just trust Him. Have that hope because He is doing this. Thank you for being here. Be careful as you go today. I know, do not get sunburned today, okay? Some of y'all going to be tempted to go out there because the sun's shining. It's supposed to be hot today, isn't it? What, 80 degrees, 70-something degrees? So don't get sunburned, okay? Don't do that, but have a good day, but be careful. All right? And just keep praying for Sabrina. You still deal with that little situation and us on Tuesday. But we know God's got this. We just don't know the exact answer, but God's got this. We're trusting Him. So thank you for being here today. We're going to sing.